Alright guys, we need to have a little talk. So there's a few things in Trove that we just gotta go over. This usually happens to newer players, and you know, sometimes it's okay because you guys might not know. But those of you end gamers, every one of you have gone through this. So I'm gonna make this video to make sure we put a stop to this, or at least for the most part, because we don't want this to get too out of hand. This is gonna be common courtesies in Trove. And if you don't know what I mean by that, I'm gonna go over everything that a new player would do that an endgame player does not like. Sometimes even endgame players do this. It just happens. Sometimes it's not on purpose, but we gotta fix this. So starting things off with the first one, we have a dungeon. Now, if you're carrying somebody through the dungeon, you don't want this to happen. There's a bunch of enemies, the boss is going in some random direction. This is like a small example of like what's to come, but like look how far away it's going. If I played a class like Boomeranger, like I have to actually go to him, which is pretty annoying. Luckily I'm just too OP and I can just one-shot everything, but like pretend we're in D14. We can't one-shot on D14. And sometimes it gets worse because sometimes there's gonna be like these, how do I describe it? The anti-gravity pillar things and just a whole bunch of things that might spawn a whole bunch of minions. You don't want to lay that out for an endgame player, especially if you're trying to get help. So what you should do is, if you are getting carried, just stand at a spot where you're not going to be in the way. So right over here, I'm in range of the dungeon. Just let the person carrying you complete the dungeon, and then you can carry on. Now, this is different from people leeching. If you're leeching, just please ask. Like, just look at your map. You might see somebody that's stronger. If they respond, cool. If they don't, respect it. Or if they deny you, just respect their decision. Sometimes endgamers just want to farm on their own, but sometimes they will actually help you if you ask. But you have to ask nicely. You can't just say, yo, I want to do 20 dungeons, just carry me. Like, don't ask it that way. You might get a good response if you just go to ChatGPT and ask like a polite way to ask for like a carry. Maybe don't do that, but you can just, I don't know, find a way to ask somebody in a pretty polite way. And there's a good chance that they might help you. Because if you imagine you're just doing dungeons, you're just trying to farm gem boxes, you're kind of on a solo mission, somebody joins you and then they just sit on top of the dungeon and then they don't say anything. You go to the next dungeon, they follow you. They don't say anything, they're just on top of the dungeon just waiting for you to finish it. That part is a little bit annoying compared to if you were to ask, because if you ask, that means you care, whereas if you leech, then people are going to look at you differently and you want to avoid that. Trove is kind of like a small community. There's a lot of people, but also not at the same time. So they might see your name, you might even get kicked out of certain clubs because just because of the leeching issue or just other issues that might happen. So we're here to fix all of that. So that's for dungeons. Make sure that applies to world bosses too. World bosses aren't like a huge issue, but the biggest thing is just don't move. Even if you have to die, just don't move. The person carrying you will take care of it. All you have to do is just keep up and do not get in their way. And I'll get into that a little bit later on when we go into the delves. And one more thing I want to mention in the adventure worlds while we're still here is if the person carrying you is just going too fast because they're just going at their own pace, you're just kind of following along. This is assuming that they allow you to get in, like to their farms and stuff. I would say don't ask them constantly for an invite. If you're falling behind, don't tell them to slow down. Just have the person carrying you go at their own pace. All you have to do is, like, if you can't keep up, if you're a little bit too slow, which happens, it's only temporary, you'll eventually get faster and maybe even faster than the person carrying you. Just open your friends list and just join off of them. There is a cooldown, it is annoying, but that's the best you can do. Sometimes you might miss a couple dungeons, but hey, it's better than not having a carry at all. And for example, if you're to have my mod where you can just add them to a quick list, then you can just have them there. And you don't have to go through like your entire friends list, they're just gonna be there. And I know it can get kind of annoying, especially if somebody goes online and offline. If you're on console, I do apologize, there isn't really an efficient way of doing that, but you just have to join them that way. Because if somebody's carrying you, they're not just gonna go over here, sit here and wait for you to like follow along. I mean, they can, that is an option, but usually you just let them go at their own pace and you try your best to follow along. Okay, so since we got that out of the way, let's go into delves because there's a couple of things in there I want to note. Okay, so as we're in the delve, I'll go over a couple things. So if you're in this situation where you're getting a carry, you're very brand new, ideally, you'd want to be like at least 10k powering so you're getting the rewards, but you could do it this way as well as long as you have keys. If you don't have keys, there's no point in doing this. So those are the first couple steps. Make sure you meet the requirements to get the boxes. The boxes don't matter a whole ton. The main thing is the shadowy vaults, so make sure you have keys. And then the next thing, so the person carrying is gonna do the objective. So this instance is killing 105 creatures. So as you're killing creatures, you know, sometimes some enemies might be a little bit tougher. I'm at a lower depth, but just know that the higher up you go, the harder the enemies are gonna be to fight. And then sometimes you have to group them. Sometimes it just takes a little bit longer than usual, depending on the objective and the debuffs and all that stuff. So if you have somebody that's like somewhat decent at the game, or just like somebody that can at least move a little bit quicker in these delves, then what you could do is have the other person rush to the boss room. So that way you're doing two things at once. The person carrying can do the objective, the other person can just rush to the boss room. You don't have to do any fighting. All you have to do is run towards the end. And delves aren't really that complicated. You can only go in one direction, unless you get like a split delve. That's kind of annoying. That'll just take a little bit of practice, but it's pretty doable. So just like a little common courtesy thing there, because a lot of people just sit in spawn, go AFK. Like usually the people hosting might not care, but if you have like a bunch of people sitting in spawn and the main person carrying is just doing all the work, I'm going to show you an example of what I mean by that in just a second. Okay, so we're at the boss room. So here's a couple things that can happen, which is really annoying, and you want to avoid this if you're the one doing this. So if you're the one starting the cursed goal and then just running away, having the boss chase you around everywhere, you could imagine that it's kind of difficult for the person carrying you to fight the boss. It's a little bit different in this instant, but you can imagine the boss would be like running around a ton, depending on the boss. But if I just do this, the boss is going to run around. It's aggroed on me. So if I'm trying to shoot it, I have to, like, it might be a little bit challenging and it's gonna take a lot more time. Whereas if you just stood still, you can just let the person carrying you shoot it, and then it'll die a lot faster. So even if you have to die, just stand in the middle and do not move. If you move, the boss is gonna follow you. It's gonna aggro the person that started the skull. So if you start it, it's gonna follow you. All you have to do is just not move. Even if you have to risk dying, who cares if you die? You lose a little bit of magic fine, you'll get it back in like 2 seconds. Let the person carrying you start it. Do not move. If you want to help fight it, that's cool. Just stand there in the middle and everything will go smoothly. Now, this is the most painful part of delves. Like, I think out of everything I've talked about so far, this is probably the thing that hurts the most whenever people don't do it. If you sit here, press E on the portal, you have to wait a very, very long time, especially if you have a lot of people. Because you have this, people are loot collecting, they're checking their personal chest, they're checking their finances, Coinbase, crypto. They literally all tab off of Trove, they go help their mom with their groceries. And then by the time this thing opens, then they either AFK up here, or they go through the portal and then AFK at spawn. All you have to do is go over here and press E on the portal. So that way it goes faster and we can get through this a lot quicker, because then you can have time for other things. If you're not pressing E at this portal, we have to wait here for a very, very long time. And it gets very frustrating. I'm used to it at this point, but you can imagine for other people, it's not that good. And I feel like I'm complaining a lot in this video. I'm just going over like things that end gamers just don't like. I've gotten used to a lot of things in this game, but if you do cause one of these, maybe you can fix it and then you can help out the current run, whatever you end up doing. But anyway, in this instance, the portal is open. We can continue the delve. You can have a couple people go through, do the objective, go rush to the boss room, whatever the case is. The portal's open, so the world is your oyster pretty much. This is where you can check Coinbase. This is where you can go help your mom. You can pick up the loot, go loot, collect it. You can do anything you want to. So do all that stuff after the portal is open. Then you can go through and then you can carry out with this delve. You're gonna save a ton of people a ton of time if you do that. I know it's very tempting seeing that shiny chest, seeing the loot on the ground, seeing if you got a crystal 4 or anything. You have time. The game's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to shut down in the next 2 minutes. At least I hope not. So just wait a little bit, have the portal open, and then you can check out anything that you want to. Now, if you start pressing E on the portal, that's amazing. Sometimes other people might not do it. You can just do a friendly reminder. Don't be mean to them. If they're not listening or if they're just not paying attention and they're just slowing down the run, whoever the host is has the option to just not invite them to the next one. But as long as you're doing it and you're pressing E on the portal, you're making it go a little bit faster. So shout outs to you guys, because a few people pressing E on the portal is better than just one pressing E on the portal, or whatever that is on console. Now, monoliths and cursed schools, this could be an issue too. I know cursed schools could be a bigger issue, especially if the enemies are a little bit more tankier. The same method applies. Stand here in the middle and let the person carrying do the work. Usually if you're Shadow Hunter, just throw a stun and then you can press activate and then it'll just kill the enemies around, assuming you can one-shot, or you can just take the time to fight them out. But same rule applies, just stand there in the middle. If you're like a Tomb Raiser and you don't reach them, it's fine. Just let the person carrying just do the work. Unless you can actually solo yourself, then that's a little bit different. And the cool thing about this is that, I don't know, some people just stand there AFK at spawn, so if they're not helping you with the run or not rushing to the boss room, like, you guys have the option to just get the ore off the walls. I hear a lot of people talking about how they can make some flux. This is amazing right here for flux. You can get that right there, Sparkazite. That's a tier 5 resource. Sell it on the marketplace, get some flux. And that was only 3, but there's a lot of ore if you just go through the delves. And each depth that you go up, you can maybe find better ore, better things to sell, because like there's plants and stuff on the ground too that you can collect. So instead of standing AFK, you can actually just go through the delve and see if there's stuff you can collect, which will help you later on. Also, this is the trick I was talking about. You just throw the stun and then press the thing on the portal. This one's kind of an unfortunate one because they have different platforms they can spawn on. But just a little thing to note if you do want to just one-shot them and if you have the ability to one-shot. But yeah, like I was saying, if you're AFKing, just at least try to pay attention, like whenever the boss is there and about to get defeated. So you just let the person carrying do the work over here, just kill the boss, easy as that, and break the chest if I don't get lagged out or whatever, or don't crash. Then you press E on the portal and you have everybody press E on the portal. Once the portal opens, because as you can see, it goes a lot faster if everybody presses it. Also, this is the other thing. If you're gonna leave the delve, at least press E on the portal, stay until the portal opens, and then you can leave. Because if you leave, it's gonna go super slow. It's gonna count as if you were in the delve. And I guess one more thing I want to mention is that if you're gonna do delves, or if you're gonna farm something, at least try to stay a little bit longer. Because like, let's just say we're doing an Ifera delve, so on the third depth it would be the Shadowy Vault, which would have Ifera. If you just did that one run, just that one boss room, and then left, it's a little bit unfortunate, especially if you have a full run, because other people might be trying to join in. If you're just joining one run, it just might not be worth it. The thing that sucks about delves is that as soon as you enter the delve, it counts as if you're still in the delve even if you leave. So other people can't take your spot. So that's one of the annoying things about delves. I don't know why it's like that. They should change that in my opinion. So that's why if you do plan on farming, just make sure you stay through the run. If it starts to take a little bit longer, then that's okay. Then you can just let the people know that you're gonna head out, thank them for the run, and then you can go on your way. But yeah, those are the main things that I do want to mention. There's probably stuff I forgot, but if there's stuff that bothers you guys, just drop it down in the comments down below. Just the main thing is be nice about it. You don't have to like call people out or just like be rude about it. It's just something that happens. We can fix it. Some people just might not know. So hopefully this video is at least a little bit informative in that way. And if you keep up the work, keep up the grind, keep playing Trove, I have a ton of guides. You guys are going to be the ones that will be able to carry. And if you can carry already, then that's perfect. I guess you might not need this video, but don't worry. I was a noob at some point. I was super slow. I was struggling to keep up with people for farms whenever I was getting carried. But you just have to respect the fact that you have to know your limitations. Sometimes you just can't do damage or you just cannot help at a certain situation. But you will benefit if you're in that farm. So as long as they let you in, just let people do their thing. If they need your help, maybe they can ask for it. Maybe you can help them in some way, but just follow directions, keep up with the rules. You'll be invited to more runs, and maybe you can make some friends along the way. So keep up the grind, keep playing Trove. That is, if you enjoy it. I don't want to force you guys if you don't like it, but it do be a fun game. You guys can accomplish anything as long as you set your mind to it. But enough of that cliche stuff. If you guys are stuck, whether it's power rank related, flux guides, anything like that, I have a bunch of that on my channel, so feel free to check them out. But on that note, I do appreciate you guys stopping by. If you have enjoyed the video, drop a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I'll see you guys later.